Good evening, everybody. This is the Wednesday, November 17th, 2021 regular town council meeting for the town of Scarborough. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 2 is the swearing in of the newly elected officials.
I'd just like to note that the newly elected officials for the Board of Education and the Sanitary District trustees were sworn in earlier, so. Order number 21-102 is act on the request for nominations in the election of a new town council chair. At this time, I'll entertain nominations. Yes,
I'd like to nominate Councilor Clucci for chair.
Second.
any other nominations? Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you, that's unanimous.
This is the process.
Is that a light?
Paula's agreed to run the technical aspects of the meeting, so thank you guys. It's an honor and a privilege. I appreciate the trust. And hopefully you bear with me as I find my rhythm and we find where we can go together. Next order of business is order number 21-103, act on the request for nominations and election of a new town council vice chair. Councilor Katerina,
Yes, I'd like to nominate Ken Johnson.
is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Vote for yourself.
You can vote for
Yeah.
yourself.
It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next item is roll call. Sorry, would you call the roll?
Counselor Seither? Here. Counselor Anderson?
Here.
Counselor Johnson?
Here.
Paul Johnson?
Oh,
That's right.
What are we gonna do about
my brain just froze. Here.
Counselor Ken Johnson?
Still here.
Counselor Katerina?
Here.
Counselor Hamel?
Here.
And Chairman Clucci?
Here.
Thank you.
And are there any general public comments for items that are not on the agenda this evening? Seeing none in person, is there anybody online? No? Okay, moving on, is minutes from the November 3rd, 2021 regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Tody, would you call the roll?
Yes. Counselor Scyther,
Yes.
Counselor Anderson,
Yes.
Counselor Paul Johnson,
Yes.
Counselor Ken Johnson,
Yes.
Counselor Katarina,
Yes.
Counselor Hamel,
Yes.
and Chairman Clucci.
Yes.
That's unanimous. Thank you.
Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Seeing none. Item 8 is the treasurer's warrants, which I believe I'll be informed on after the meeting. And then item 9 is the town manager's report.
Thank you,
Tom,
Mr. Chairman. Congratulations.
thank you.
A couple of points of interest. Our fire chief position, I think as the councils and the public's hopefully aware, Mike Thurlow, longtime fire chief, 44 years or and counting, will be retiring just after the first of the year, early January. True to form, he gave me plenty of notice, and so we've begun the process of recruiting a new fire chief to replace him. That position closed this past weekend. I have a fairly small candidate pool that seems to be typical in these times. We had 6 applicants. The good news is we have 4 that we're very interested in interviewing. And so in spite of the small pool, I'm quite hopeful. We do have one internal candidate that we're quite familiar with. So I'm really interested in proceeding through this process. So we'll be moving swiftly. I'd like to have a slight transition between the new chief and the outgoing chief. And I think we're on a timeline to make that happen. Also pleased to report, the council's aware and perhaps the public, we've had an ongoing set of negotiations with our Teamster union. The Teamsters represent about 14 of our operational folks in the Public Works Department. Most recently, we did participate in a fact-finding session, which was productive. We essentially reached a tentative agreement at the end of that long day. And just as of today, have finalized all the contract language. So at this point, the matter will go to the union for ratification and then come to you. I'm not exactly sure if you'll see it at your next meeting. Certainly by the December 15th meeting, I expect will be on your agenda. I want to make the council aware, a matter that's been workshopped a couple of meetings ago, the Candlewood Suites, that's at 700 Longwood Drive. This is an existing extended stay hotel. They're looking to convert to multifamily units. They have submitted their formal contract zone application. The planning department has reviewed that and deemed it complete. So I'll be working with chairman to schedule the initial step, which is a joint meeting with the planning board and the town council. I would like to have some conversations fairly soon. Just there's a number of folks involved just to get that on our schedules. I've also been quite busy working on identifying consulting needs and identifying a consultant to help the town really in the near term as regards an exemption request from our growth management ordinance. Have had 2 productive discussions with different consulting teams. And we'll have another follow-up this coming Friday. So I'm quite hopeful that I'll have a recommendation for you by the time you meet next. And lastly, just kind of housekeeping and reminders, the council will be having a workshop at your next meeting, December 1st. This will be with the Maine Turnpike Authority, and it's for them to provide us an update on the Gorham Connector project. This is a project that's been in the works nearly a decade, I would say, but has seemingly been kind of dormant for the last couple of years. So I think it's certainly important for Scarborough to be briefed on this, as most of this new limited access highway would exist within our town. So there's some very direct impacts and I think opportunities as well. So again, we'll be sending out some materials as background in advance of that workshop on December 1st. And lastly, just a reminder, with the holiday schedule, town hall will be closed Thursday, Friday next week. But other than that, business as usual. Last thing, late breaking news. Liam Gallagher, our assistant town manager, has been appointed by the governor to the Board of Occupational Safety and Health. He's holding the seat of municipal representative, which is really an important seat and quite an honor, I think. This is quite likely to be a fairly interesting appointment for him, given the fact there are vaccine mandates, all of which will go through this board at one level or another. So I know he's equal to the task, and I'm really proud that he put his name in and was nominated. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm available for questions.
That's awesome. Any questions for Tom? Council Johnson.
Just one, congratulations to Liam, I hope, but that is that's just a part-time gig, right? We're
Yes,
not
yes.
losing him?
They
Okay,
meet quarterly.
right. Thank you.
Excellent. Seeing no other questions, we have special guests with us this evening. And the next item is a non-action item, an update on the library expansion project. I know we have formerly town councilor Bill Donovan and the library director Nancy Kroll. I'm not sure how you want to proceed with this. Come on up. I believe we can pull up some visuals as well if you'd like. So would you like us to pull up the packet?
I'm not going to make any specific reference to them, so not necessary. Just to introduce myself, since we have a audience beyond those in the room, I'm Bill Donovan, and I am the president of the Scarborough Public Library, and very proud to be. With me today is Susan Powell, who is the vice president of the library, and Nancy Kroll, who is our executive director. And we all came today knowing that there could be some questions, and so we wanted to be able to be very responsive. I really want to start by thanking you for your support. One of the charts that we provided to you outlined the monies over the last 4 years that have been allocated by the town council for the development of an expansion project, a lot of engineering work, as you could see from that listing, as well as architectural work has been done. We have been hard at this for years. And I also want to thank you in passing the comprehensive plan this past spring. You endorsed the expansion of the library, and I appreciate that very much. It's great to have a partner who recognizes the importance of the library. For us, this has been a long journey. We gave you a timeline sheet that shows you that we go back to pre-2006 with an effort to expand the library. Library built in 1989, we knew it was going to need to be expanded. In the early 2000s, an extensive effort was put forward, and the bond referendum failed by about 100 votes. Following that, we had expected we would regroup, but as we all learned, there were a whole series of things that intervened, and the library recognized that the town council had to make judgments about what was important. And we had a major recession in the 2007, 8, 9, 10 period of time. We had the Wentworth School, an essential addition for this community, and we're all proud of it. We had the public safety building. Again, the library felt that was an important thing to add to this community. And so we waited patiently. And then COVID hit. We were actually lucky that COVID gave us a chance to step back, and another year, we're looking at a November of 2022 referendum. We're looking at the year 21, 22 as a significant fundraising year. We've been working very closely with our fundraising consultants, who we found to have been very professional, very capable, the DeMont Group. Their final report to us on the capabilities of what we can do in this community is going to be out in the next several days and available. I don't have it here for you tonight, but I plan on providing it to you to give you an insight of what we think the community can complement a bond referendum with. So we also had the chance in moving forward with the fundraising initiative. We also looked hard at the building. And we've provided you with a chart that explains what other libraries in the region look like in terms of size. And we've been grossly undersized. I don't think there's any doubt about it. We wanted to be able to look at both the location of the present library and what we might do to alter the plan that had been proposed, as well as what other alternatives we had. And so we've actively participated with the Scarborough Downs people with looking at their parcels. We had our architects do an extensive study to look at all the, including the municipal campus, whatever was available on the municipal campus. We scored it. We didn't provide it because there's a tediousness to how much information the town council can have thrown at them, but we have that information. And the present library scored far and away the best. We did choose to go to a two-story, smaller footprint space, slightly larger. This change was strongly endorsed by the staff, which is very professional. Nancy Kroll is a gem of an executive director for this community, has been for decades. And she has a professional staff that is remarkable. And we have a board that has a lot of seasoned people on it. And I'm new to it. I haven't even been on the board for 2 years. And when I listen to the input from these board members, I go, wow, they've been living this for years and years. And their endorsement of this new plan as covering more ground was heartening. While it's been a long road from the early 2000s to here, in our view, it never has diminished our enthusiasm. It's really worth it. We see the library as Scarborough's most valuable community space. It serves a remarkable array of services and people in this community. I won't go into the hundreds of ways in which we serve the community, but I will tell you an interesting, what I thought was a funny coincidence. I'm a retired lawyer. A couple of years ago, I've been retired for several years. I looked around and said, what can I do to help with my professional skills? Because I did tax work. And I learned that the IRS ran a tax return assistance program for seniors. So I attended the classes. You've got to be on your game to be able to do this. And who do I run into at these IRS sponsored classes? Don Hamill's wife, Susan. Susan had been already out there doing this. And then another professional. It's made up of almost all CPAs, accountants, and attorneys. And so where do the seniors go to meet these volunteers? The Scarborough Public Library. That's where the program is run. And as I've learned over the last 2 years, there's dozens of programs that whether you might be an artist, a sketch artist, you might be a person who wants to be a book club, you might want to be a knitter. There are so many things that the library provides beyond the bookshelves that it's a remarkable, vibrant place. And I must say, we're very proud to partner with the town. The town provides 90% of the library's budget. The residents of this town, they don't give a hoot about 401 C3 corporations or anything about the contractual relationship between the library. All they realize is it's a public library. It's strongly sponsored by the town itself. And we're just very pleased. We're equally pleased to be very supportive of the school system. We get kids from the schools every day. And we want to be not competing with the schools, but supportive, collaborating and cooperating with the school in the years ahead as the schools project goes forward, as we go forward. And we would in earnest work with the school board to make sure that what we're doing and what they're doing is the best combination for the town of Scarborough. We're going to be ready next winter, spring to do a much more detailed, for the public's benefit, for the town council's benefit. We'll be in front of the finance committee as a part of the lead up to the August consideration of putting a bond referendum on the ballot for November. So we'll work closely with you. We'll have a much sharper cost estimate that we have under contract to have done in the winter. And so we're really looking forward to providing you with all the information you need and all the information we need to be able to provide this community with a really first-class expanded library. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
If you have questions, I brought Susan and Nancy, to both very capable. We treat our senior leadership very much as a collaborative. I had a bit of illness this summer, and Susan stepped in beautifully and took over for 3 or 4 months while I recuperated. So any questions, please feel free to put them forward. And if you want to wait till February, that's okay.
So I know you're going to come back to us. I'll just say, I go to the library every day. My kids go there after school. It's a meeting place to get their homework done before they go off to activities. It's a treasure, and they like to get their homework done. I understand that you can only appeal to so many people in the space that you have. I've been curious what's been going on. It did go probably 2 years ago. I think you started the design presentations, and this looks quite a bit different than what I recall seeing then. So when do we get, I guess, a little more flavor for how things have evolved?
Thank you. I think the largest change is that we went from a 1-floor to a 2-floor addition. We did that very deliberately. As it turned out, we looked at the footprint and the fact that it was consuming all of the space on that parcel. And we really feel strongly we want to reduce that impervious surface impact. We all know that we're going to be dealing with water runoff and control of wetlands. And we also looked at the mass of the building for the presence on Gorham Road, as well as our very good neighbors on Green Needle Drive. We have every year tried to inform Green Needle Drive about our plans. And so our feeling was to go to a 2-story, was much more compact. It was more efficient. We were going to be able to do some interesting things on the interior by going to a 2-story addition, leaving the current building the way it is, and then having a little, we'll call it a zipper, a little connector, and then going to a 2-floor. And we're finding some really innovative ways of using the upper level for public space and the lower level for the library space, particularly in the children's services area. So it's working out very well to reduce that mass, make it more compact, and provide us with the services we need on a smaller footprint.
Do you have any resources or website or anything like that with
We
more
do.
details that people can go to?
As we're gathering the resources, we are putting them on our website. There is an expansion link. If you go to our primary website, you can go into a specific area where we're keeping all that updated. And on that site also gives some sort of desired accomplishments. We've brought photographs from other libraries that are quite remarkable that we'd like to aspire to. So it's a creative website as well as an informational website.
Well, thank you both for coming.
Thank you.
We will provide you with copies of the fundraising professionals report. So it gives you a sense of what the expectation is that can be raised, which we hope will be in the millions of dollars. And we will be working hard at it immediately. It's our intention to work at this right up through the referendum vote in November, and then in the years that follow to be able to meet our goals. So thank you.
Councilor Johnson.
Bill, would you guys be willing to just send me you mentioned there's been some scoring and it's not in the packet. Would you guys be willing to forward that along as well?
Yes, Nancy will provide color copies for you.
Ooh, okay. Well, I won't print them out. We'll save paper.
Yeah, I just want to add, just being the council liaison to the library, I've been super impressed with the due diligence and details that I've been privy to since I've been able to attend the meetings, because I have seen all the data, all the detail, all the work that's been done. So just very impressed with the thoughtfulness and with the makeup of the Board of Trustees, especially some very analytical, thoughtful, committed people with a lot of experience that I think will ultimately make sure the recommendation we get before us will be the best for the library and for Scarborough. So it's been a pleasure partnering with you guys the past year.
Okay. Well, thank you again for coming. Next item is a public hearing and second reading. It's order number 21-095 regarding the proposed Ninth Amendment in the contract zone from KDK Realty LLC. Is there any members of the public who would like to speak to this item? I see one. Come on up to the podium. State your name and address, please.
Good evening. Noah Nagrin, 16 Phillip Street. During the first reading, I already explained that this growth and all similar growth is a net detriment to the public because more population is added while the supply of hotly demanded resources and infrastructure, such as road space, remains constant. We, the taxpayers, don't want more competition for road space. We want less competition for road space. I also said that this project will add pressure on the town council to make a GMO exception, but I couldn't get any traction because these will happen to get claimed first. I'm here tonight because I said I would return, foolishly, to debunk the benefits to the public listed by the developer. So charging stations, most of the public did not ask for these. We drive cars with engines. This is not a benefit to me anytime soon, and it comes with dense growth that I don't want. This adds up to a net detriment. Do the pros outweigh the cons? No. Sidewalk easement. The planning board said that an easement is not needed for the sidewalk. US dollar contributions for affordable housing, sidewalk, and public transportation totaling $295,000. Out of context, this doesn't sound too bad. In context, this is very small compared to their construction costs. Even if they do have to donate this $295,000, these assets will still perform like maniacs, at least for the rest of the housing bubble, and certainly in the long term. Because most of the public didn't ask for this donation, and this all comes with dense growth that so many of us don't want, this is a net detriment to the public. Appendix A. We're moving on to Appendix A. Effect on taxes is mediocre at best, considering it comes with 48 units that we don't want, and at least a few children going through the schools at a significant tax burden. Does not create jobs or amenities. These are apartments. No longer enhances variety of housing in Scarborough. There are now a boatload of apartments all over the place. let's see, does not maintain or enhance property values. Other, this is just mine. Does not provide housing to Scarborough natives who are getting squeezed out like I was for over 2 years and who are struggling to compete for housing. These rents are more than my mortgage. Also, I expect you all know that the Beacon parking lots are peppered with out-of-state plates. I need to wrap up here. So once again, please reject this contract zone amendment. Don't do it for me, do it for the town you surveyed in 2017, 2018, and 2021. Thank you for your valuable time and consideration. I'll be back.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad you came back and I do hope that we see you again. Are there any other members of the public, either here or online, that would like to speak to this topic? Seeing none, this is a second reading as well, so do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
So the item's on the floor. Councilor Johnson.
Yep, before we go deep in the discussion, I'd like to add, offer up essentially a wholesale amendment. This is just a correction. It adds into the contract more clarity around what we're expecting from the developer. It's a red line version. Tony, should I read the whole thing or should I just reference the red line version? Okay, I'll read the highlights. I'll paraphrase here, but my amendment is specifically for the red line version that everybody has in front of us that I hope Mr. Hall will put in the packet by tomorrow. So it'll be clear. There's nothing actually new in here. It's just cleaning up the contract. It references the $250,000 towards the Affordable Housing Fund. It also specifically calls out the charging stations, the easement, and also the sidewalk. So this is specific to those items that have been talked about in public. And it's a more specific version of the contract. So I'm going to offer that up as an amendment.
Your second.
Second.
Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, Tony, would you call the vote?
Counselor Seither?
Yes.
Counselor Anderson?
Yes.
Counselor Paul Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Ken Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Katarina?
Yes.
Counselor Hamel?
Yes.
And Chairman Tucci?
Yes.
That's unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're back to the original item as amended. Is there any discussion on that? Counselor Katarina.
Yeah, thank you, Noah, for speaking. I certainly understand. There are a few people in town who have concerns about growth and whatever. Again, as I mentioned previously, I think it's great that the developers are putting money into our Affordable Housing Initiative Fund. I'd like it better if we actually had actual units in there that were affordable, but I also understand, what's going on with development and whatever now. As far as the electric charging, more and more people are going to electric. Some people will stay with their engines, but there are more and more people going towards electric. So I think that's a good thing to put in there. And then again, I want to tell people, because I'm in the business, and I would like to remind people that there is still a shortage of apartments and rental units in this area. I did an article for the E-News where I looked up some stats, and even I was a little blown away by the stats when I really looked at them. For example, Cumberland County, a 3-bedroom apartment, that was the only number I could find. The average is $1,900 a month. And that's with no utilities or anything. That's just the basic rental cost. And that's for the whole county. So if you're looking at an average, you're talking everywhere from Bridgeton down into Scarborough. So to me, the more housing that we can do within our growth areas that add to the supply, the better it's going to be, particularly for younger folks. Or older folks like myself who are downsizing or looking for something smaller or don't want to be in a house anymore. There's very little out there. So, I support this.
Thank you. Counselor Anderson.
Yeah, so I voted no for this at the last meeting. And while I agree with what was stated tonight by Noah in terms of the 295 not being sufficient in my eyes, at the last finance committee meeting, we had some discussion about the Haggis Parkway TIF. And, you know, I want to thank Tom for bringing that to my attention, because I think, you know, this development has been extremely influential in ensuring that the town is able to grow the value. And I think over the next year, we're gonna pay down the CEA, I believe. And then we're gonna be able to shelter even more funds that could be used for taxpayers that I don't think we would have gotten there without the beacon and the contributions there. And so taking a step back, while this particular, request, I still believe it could have been better. I do think when you take a step back and look at the big picture and the contribution that the beacons brought to the community and that the town's going to benefit from when the CEA is paid off and we still have the TIF available, I think is going to pay dividends to the community. And so for that, I'm going to support this tonight.
Any other comments? Okay. Tony, would you call the roll?
Counselor Seither,
Yes.
Counselor Anderson,
Yes.
Counselor Paul Johnson,
Yes.
Counselor Ken Johnson,
Yes.
Counselor Katarina,
Yes.
Counselor Hamel,
Yes.
and Chairman Clucci.
Yes.
Thank you. That's unanimous.
Showing there's no old business at this time. So we'll move to new business and order number 21-104, which is a first reading and schedule a second reading to amend the fire department for fiscal year 2022-23 by increasing revenues and expenditures and accepting $2,000 grant.
And I should point out, there's a Scribner's error. That should be the current fiscal year. That's FY 21-22. So my apologies.
That makes more sense.
So noted.
And Tom, will you be introducing this, or is
I know
Chief Thurlow with us?
Chief Thurlow is here. He did have I think, a fairly explanatory memorandum that was in the packet. Essentially, the Prouts Neck Association has provided this grant. The intent is to buy an automatic external defibrillator to be located at the Ferry Beach location. And historically, we've kind of taken used ones or older ones from other public facilities and housed it there. We think this is tremendous use of public benefit, and certainly appreciate the Prouts Neck Association for that donation.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
Quick
Counselor Gunn.
point of order. Is there a way to make a motion and waive second reading on this, or do we?
You can. It takes a vote of 5.
Okay. Can I do, it doesn't make sense to do it now?
You can make a motion to.
Yep.
Yes.
So I'd like to make a motion to waive second reading on this item.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Would you call the roll, Terry?
Counselor Seither,
Yes.
Counselor Anderson,
Yes.
Counselor Paul Johnson,
Yes.
Counselor Ken Johnson,
Yes.
Counselor Katarina.
Yes.
Counselor Hamel.
Yes.
And Chairman Clucci.
Yes. So now we're going to waive the second reading. We're back to the original order. Thanks for throwing that one in there for me, Paul. Appreciate it. Any discussion as amended? No, seeing none, would you call the roll?
Counselor Seither,
Yes.
Counselor Anderson,
Yes.
Counselor Paul Johnson.
Yes.
Counselor Ken Johnson,
Yes.
Counselor Katarina,
Yes.
Counselor Hamel,
Yes.
and Chairman Clucci.
Yes.
Thank you. That's unanimous.
Next up is order number 21-105, which is an act to waive the competitive bidding requirements for a new fire truck that was approved by the Scarborough voters on November 2nd, 2021, and to authorize the town manager to execute the contract based on the prior competitive bid process conducted.
Liam Gallagher, I think, is best to introduce this matter. He is with us remotely.
Liam, I'm going to make you a panelist, so your camera will be on as well.
Everyone hear me okay?
Welcome, Liam.
Hi. So I'm going to attempt to do a better job with this than I did at the Finance Committee last week. I'll try to be more concise as well. The action before the council for consideration is we're really sure how to structure this. It's not so much a waiving of the competitive bid process as much as it's looking to piggyback on a prior bid process. Chief Thurlow has had productive discussions with the vendor who manufactured our last engine and is in the process of manufacturing our new ladder truck that was approved last year by the voters. But we have an opportunity here to essentially utilize the same specs and design of the truck that was delivered to the Pine Point station this past summer. By doing so, we can expedite the manufacturing process. We can take advantage of a discount and cut out the unneeded engineering costs associated with the manufacturing of a new engine. By doing so, we can reduce the delivery time from 4 to 6 months, as well as come in approximately $25,000 underneath the budget. So all those things considered, we think it's an opportunity we'd like the council to consider this evening.
Thank you, Liam. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead, this side.
I had the opportunity to watch the finance committee meeting. The presentation on this, I think, got a little bit tangled during the finance committee meeting. My understanding is that now this is for the truck that was always intended for. And I think that detail got a little tangled in the meeting. So just for the public's benefit, making clear that point, I think is important. But other than that, thank you, Liam, for bringing this forward.
All the credit goes to Chief Thurlow, and yes, just to clarify, the truck that was due to be replaced is exactly the truck that will be replaced. Where the confusion came in was on my end regarding where this truck would be deployed.
I'll take some responsibility there.
I think I own that one.
So I mean, this just sounds like a smart move to me. We're buying a duplicate truck, so we don't need to go through all the same process. You're going to put the same specs and orders in, and you got a good deal on it. So I support this. Tony, would you call the vote?
Counselor Scyther,
Yes.
Counselor Anderson,
Yes.
Counselor Paul Johnson,
Yes.
Counselor Ken Johnson,
Yes.
Counselor Katarina,
Yes.
Counselor Hamel,
Yes.
and Chairman Pucci.
Yes,
That was unanimous. Thank you.
thank you. Next up is standing and special committee reports and liaison reports. Does anybody have anything to report out? Counselor Anderson.
We had a community services rec advisory board this week, and a lot of part of the agenda was to discuss the beach, the rate increase, and the committee still strongly feels that an increase should take place. And I think what they're likely endorsing, that Todd will likely bring forward pending some further discussion, I think, is a $5 increase across the board for each of the different rates. So what's now $5 would go to 10, what's now 15 would go to 20 during those 4 hours. And that was what was discussed, and they voted unanimously to support that. So just sharing that as an FYI, because I know we've been getting a lot of emails around that from people, but the advisory board still feels strongly increases is appropriate.
Counselor Hamel.
Yeah, I had an update
Okay.
for coastal waters. It was on the same issue of fees. And they highlighted the fact that we really didn't talk about mooring fees and fees associated with the waterfront. So they're gathering data to try to fold that into the process that we're taking to deliberate on the future of the fees that Counselor Anderson just referenced.
Seeing no other updates, any counselor comments? Counselor Katarina.
Yeah, I'm sorry, forget, we aren't going to be here for the end. I just wanted to let the people who live in House District 27, which is where I live, and it's a small portion that comes down from Gorham down to the Turnpike and up, I don't know, Beach Ridge, whatever. But if you're in House District 27, there will be a special election. The representative Kyle Bailey has resigned, and they have set the special election for Tuesday, January 11th. Is that correct, Jody?
That's correct.
So I just want to give people a heads up on that. I know the parties have to have caucuses to choose candidates. It's my understanding the Republican caucus is caucusing this week. I don't have the information on that. You could certainly reach out. I would say to Annalee Rosenblatt, if you live in Scarborough, regarding what's going on with that. The Democratic Caucus will be this Saturday at 10 o'clock at the Gorham Middle School. So just to give people a heads up on that, who live in, it's just House District 27. So just so you'll know. Thanks.
Seeing no other comments, I'd just like to thank, well, first off, welcome, April. I think your voice will be a welcome addition to the council. Yes. And also show appreciation for Paul and Don. They were, they're giddy almost, I think, stepping back to the side of the table today. You should be proud of your accomplishments, and you're going to be a tough act to follow. So thank you for everything, and I appreciate your support. Next order is number 21-106, and it's act on a request for an executive session pursuant to Title I MRSA 405.6 to consult with the town attorney concerning the legal rights and duties of the town related to land use matters and real estate and public property matters. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? Tony,
I
would you
just
call?
might add to the motion that you will open back up to public session to adjourn the meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
so we will go away for a period of time and then come back just to adjourn. That's the only thing we're going to do when we come back, so it's probably not worth sticking around.
Okay. Counselor Seider,
Yes.
Counselor Anderson,
Yes.
Counselor Paul Johnson.
Yep.
Counselor Ken Johnson.
Yes.
Counselor Katarina,
Yes.
Counselor Hamel,
Yes.
and Chairman Pucci.
Yes.
That's unanimous.